Picture a sunburned gas station off a lonely highway in the deep south, the kind of place where the air tastes like dust and gasoline and nobody makes eye contact for long. That's where our story begins. Only the names and places have changed, but the feeling is real. A woman named Renee Carter pulls in on her fire-red motorcycle, a sleek machine humming low and steady like it's holding its breath. She's been on the road for hours, helmet visor down, jacket zipped tight against the heat. She doesn't smile, doesn't wave. She just fuels up calm and deliberate like a soldier cleaning her rifle. Across the porch, Billy Colson, a sun-leathered man in a tan deputy shirt, spits his tobacco into the dirt. His buddy, Kyle Morton, circles behind the pumps, a younger deputy, thinner but hungrier, like a stray dog trying to impress its master. Their eyes don't really see Renee as a person, they see a disruption. Black skin, leather jacket, expensive bike. Everything about her violates the silent rules of this town. Billy calls out, "Hey, you hear me, girl? Folks like you don't usually last long out here." His voice carries that lazy kind of menace, half smirk, half warning. Renee doesn't even turn her head. She just squeezes the handle fuel ticking into the tank, her gloves steady. Inside an old Chevy pickup, an elderly woman named Martha Lee watches through the windshield. She survived too much to be surprised anymore, but her knuckles still go white on the steering wheel. She knows how these scenes usually end. Kyle steps closer, boots crunching gravel. License and registration, he barks. But it's not a request. It's a dare. Billy smirks. Stand still. Time for a weapons check. His hands go too far, brushing her waist with a kind of ownership that's got nothing to do with safety. Renee's jaw tightens. She says evenly, "You're exceeding the scope of a lawful stop. Step back." Billy laughs under his breath. Law don't mean a damn thing when no one's here to hear you. And then gut punch. Air gone. She folds for half a second, catching herself on the pump. The sound of it is ugly, a mix of leather, bone, and heat. The onlookers in the store press against the glass, but don't move. Silence can be its own kind of violence. And here's where it shifts. Renee straightens slowly, eyes like ice breath pulling back into her ribs. She whispers, "You just made your worst mistake." Then 8 seconds, 8 quiet, devastating seconds. Her elbow slams back, catching Billy in the throat. Her other hand twists Kyle's arm until his gun slips free. They're on the pavement, choking, stunned, staring up at her like she's gravity itself. She pulls out her phone, the lens steady. "Say it," she orders. Kyle's voice cracks. "We attacked her for being black. We saw her as a threat." He says it again, and the words hang in the heat like poison finally named. Billy snarls, but even he croaks out the truth. It's caught on video, raw and undeniable. For a heartbeat, the scene freezes, then Billy lunges. A loose wrench glints in his fist. It cracks against her temple. She goes down, blood spreading across her jacket. They drag her behind the station, smashing her phone, trying to plant a gun in her hand. They think the badge still makes them untouchable. What they don't know is that under Renee's sleeve, a silent beacon just blinked to life. Data shooting skyward. Hundreds of miles away in a windowless room in D.C., alarms flare red. Carter's compromised, an analyst calls out. Location Franklin Junction. Helicopters spin up. Black SUVs roar out of a federal compound, tires screaming toward the south. Back behind the station, Billy hisses at Kyle. Nobody's gonna believe her, not here, not ever. But Kyle's hands are shaking. Wade, she fought like she's military. She's not just some biker. Billy sneers. She's nobody. I'll prove it. Then her eyes flick open. 2 shards of ice cutting through the heat. Her legs coil, snapping around Billy's neck, flipping him onto the gravel. Kyle lunges, but she twists his thumb sideways until he screams. She rises, blood-streaked but unbroken, pistol now in her grip. "You thought I was nobody," she says low and steady. The Pentagon doesn't waste time on nobodies. And that's when the sound hits rotor blades, beating the air. Black SUVs skidding into the lot. Dust and gravel whip up locals stumbling out of the store, shielding their eyes. Sergeant Marcus Trenton steps out first, broad-shouldered, dark-skinned uniform crisp. "Drop your weapon, ma'am. We'll take it from here." Renee stares him down, testing him. Then she flips the gun grip first into his palm. Respect unspoken but clear. Martha Lee opens her truck door, at last, voice trembling but steady. "I saw everything." A Latina journalist. Sofia Perez is already live streaming, red dot glowing on her phone. The deputies are cuffed on the gravel, the badge stripped of magic. What started as a routine humiliation just detonated into a federal case. Weeks later, the courthouse is packed to the rafters. On one side, blue flag loyalists. On the other, protesters holding up Renee's bloodied face printed from screenshots. Inside, the deputies sit at the defense table, their lawyers spinning fear like it's an excuse. Renee rises calm but coiled. "They didn't act out of fear," she tells the jury. "They acted out of contempt." The courtroom screen flickers, the video plays. Kyle's tearful confession. Billy's venom about knowing her place. Gasps ripple through the room. Her attorney doesn't need to add a word. Sergeant Trenton takes the stand explaining the biometric data showing she was compliant, unarmed, struck anyway. "This wasn't policing," he says. "This was predation." Billy's lawyer shouts objection. The judge overrules. The jury sees it all, the punch, the wrench, the planting of the gun. Renee turns to them one last time. "Fear doesn't explain smashing my phone to destroy evidence," she says. "Fear doesn't explain spitting on me while I bled. That's not fear. That's hatred with a badge." Verdict day arrives. The judge's voice is steady. Guilty on all counts. 30 years federal. Kyle collapses into his cuffed hands. Billy thrashes, cursing everyone in the chamber. The crowd erupts, half in cheers, half in outrage. Cameras flash. Sophia's live feed hits 1 million views before lunch. But the story doesn't end with the verdict. Months later, Renee rides back into Franklin Junction. The pumps are freshly painted. The old sign, once a symbol of exclusion, now reads "Open for All." Martha is waiting with a folded map of towns marked in faded ink. "There are still places like this," she says, "but you make people believe it's possible." Renee traces the map with her glove. "Belief is fragile," she murmurs. Martha nods. "But they remember courage, too. Sometimes longer than hate." A young mechanic named Mateo brings her coffee. "People talk different now," he says quietly. "They think twice before raising their voices." He glances toward the horizon. Even the old ones, like Billy, who swore they'd never bend, he's gone. Renee smiles faintly. "Running doesn't erase who you are." No, Mateo agrees, but maybe it keeps the rest of us breathing easier. She finishes her coffee, slides on her gloves, the Ducati gleaming like a heartbeat under the sun. Martha asks softly, "You'll keep riding, won't you?" Renee swings her leg over the bike. "The map says I don't have a choice." The engine roars to life. People step back instinctively as the sound rolls over them like thunder. She doesn't wave. She doesn't smile. She twists the throttle and the machine leaps forward, tearing across the asphalt. Her shadow stretches long behind her, a dark banner claiming the road is hers. As she disappears, the map flutters on her seat, revealing more marks, more towns. Proof her road is far from finished. And here's the thing, this isn't a fairy tale ending. Some people still spit when her name's mentioned. Some deputies in other counties still think the badge makes them bulletproof. But the silence at Franklin Junction cracked. And once a crack forms, the whole wall starts to shake. Renee rides because the road itself is testimony, because someone has to carry it. She rides for her father who never made it home from a traffic stop. She rides so no daughter has to kneel for mercy that should have been hers by birth. She rides because freedom isn't a gift, it's a fight. Now I'm curious, what do you think when you hear a story like this? Was Renee right to stand her ground? Do you believe one person can drag a whole system into the light? Or does it take something bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us if you've ever seen or lived something like this. And if you believe more people need to hear stories that cut through silence, hit like, share, and subscribe. This road's not finished and neither is the reckoning.